get caught in a camel scam. So my name is Maddie Vashow. I'm from Michigan, in the United States. I go to Cleary University, and I'm going to be doing an exchange student program internationally with Egypt, to learn more about their culture and kind of their background and everything like that. I'm definitely a business person, so I definitely look towards finding out the differences in cultures and seeing how they interact with different countries in business terms as well. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on learning. So, personal background. So, I do have a lot of communication strengths through my past experiences. I've been in a lot of different workplaces and a lot of different kind of difficult situations to get out of with communication wise. So, I've learned a lot. I have a lot of communication strengths. I'm a very approachable person. I like to kind of relate to everybody that I meet and make them feel like they can always come to me and I can always come to them. Being able to relate and have a strong relationship with my fellow workers or classmates or anything like that is very important to me. I don't really have a lot of listening anxiety. The only time I really have listening anxiety is when I have people throwing numbers at me and I don't really have time to write it down and go through it in my head. Other than that, I'm really good with attaining a lot of relation or information when people are talking to me, especially business wise. Those terms just go right in through my brain and I can register it really fast. Verbal aggressiveness. I am pretty aggressive when I'm speaking verbally. I like to get my point across and I like people to know where I stand and my beliefs. So I definitely am more aggressive, but it's not in a bad way. It's in a good way where people know, like, okay, she knows her facts and she knows what she's talking about and she knows where she's at and where she wants to be. The relational self. So I definitely see my relationships with people as something that's very important to me. Typically, if I have a relationship with somebody, it's because I see a part of myself in them and I can really reflect and relate to them. I can increase my trust and everything, and I don't really have to ever worry about if I trust them or not because I get along with them basically due to what I see that reflects some part of myself. So where in the United States are you from and what is your goal? So like I said before, I'm from Michigan. That is a state in the United States. And my goal of being an exchange student is to really learn the cultural values to a different country. I might not agree with a lot of the terms, especially for Egypt with women, but it's definitely cool to get to know people's aspects in their life and what they have to go through, and learn from that and hopefully kind of make a difference for these people that don't really have anybody else to compare themselves to. Communication expectations and cultural differences. So there's a ton of cultural differences with Egypt. There's a lot of talk with the no public display of affection. So basically, it's seen as very rude and scary if you show public display of affection. So under certain laws, it depends, but under certain laws, if you're in public and you are seen showing any public display of affection at all, under the public intimacy laws, you can be fined or imprisoned for just showing that, which is super scary. If you have like a husband or something, you don't hold hands when you're walking. Like, it's not like the typical thing that you would see in the United States. You definitely have to keep your distance and know your place as a woman, which is kind of hard to say out loud because it's like not how it is here, but that is how it is there. Exceptional clothing differences between men and women. This is a big thing. So for women, you have to cover up. You're pretty much only allowed to show your hands and your face. Otherwise, it's seen as offensive. For some reason, I don't really agree with that at all, but that is how it is in Egypt. And this kind of goes all the way back to their social morals, and it's always been like this there. So in order for somebody to take a stand, it's going to have to be a whole village of people and not just one person, because they can't arrest a whole village of people for trying to stand up for their rights. Male privilege is huge in Egypt. So basically, males don't really have much to worry about other than providing income and doing their job. They can pretty much wear whatever they want. This is kind of like more of the typical dress for males. And then this is kind of what the women have to wear. They do like style it up. They'll put glitter and everything like that on there. But it's definitely different. So those are some of the things for women and men that are different. What do you need to be an effective listener? So this is probably one of my favorite questions. due to me being such a business person and liking to see where the differences are internationally with business and communication. So probably the biggest thing that I can tell anybody about this is that your nonverbal communication clues are probably 90% of what their impression is going to be of you. Not as much of what you say, but what you do. So respectful body language, this is huge. So there's a lot of like little nicks that are kind of weird in Egypt, but it's really good to know. So eye contact is pretty crucial. They really expect eye contact, and if you don't give them that, they'll think that you're not confident or you don't know what they're talking about, and they will actually like put themselves above you and probably like talk down to you a little bit. Facial expressions for sure, and your posture. Make sure you're pretty proper with your posture. If you're a woman, even to men too, but you don't cross your legs when you're sitting down. So say you're like in a business meeting or you're going out to a restaurant or something like that. If you cross your legs and the bottom of your foot is showing, it is seen as very offensive. Doing kind of like a thumbs up gesture, like just saying like thumbs up, or if you can't hear somebody in the US, we'd just be like, yeah, okay. But like in Egypt, that is very offensive. You should not do that at all, as well as pointing. Pointing is definitely something that is a little bit more offensive here, but it depends on your social morals and who you talk to. So those two things are pretty important. The one weird thing is your left hand. So your left hand in Egypt is seen as unclean, and you shouldn't use your left hand at all. So if you go up to shake somebody's hand with your left hand, they won't even approach you. So it's definitely important to always use your right hand unless you're handling something dirty like dishes. Arabic is their one major language there. Everybody speaks in Arabic. Most people know other languages, but they won't really understand you if you're talking completely in a different language. They get some of it, but Arabic is definitely their number one. So that's important to learn if you're going to go over there and learn. Social issues. So civil unrest and political upheaval in 2011. So this is pretty interesting because it kind of relates to what we're going through right now in the United States, but kind of different reasons. So there was a ton of rioting and everything like that in 2011 in Egypt, and it was known as the Egyptian Revolution. So basically they were trying to overthrow their president, and they did that through doing stuff like brutality, rioting, the government shut down, unemployment, slowing of the economy. There was a ton of people that went on, especially like labor unions, they all went on strike. You had people out rioting and looting. They would start fires. It was pretty bad. There was a lot of upheaval in 2011 to overthrow the president. So the food prices went up, the wages went down. So this all started January 25th, 2011. And their president's name was Mubarak. He was definitely the one that they were trying to overthrow. And this wasn't between men or women. This is pretty much both. But they were trying to overthrow him as a president. They didn't really like what he was doing, and it all kind of started through the police brutality. They weren't happy with the police brutality there, and they believed that the president had something to do with it. So this all pretty much went on for not even a month before the president resigned. So the president resigned February 11th, 2011. After that, things started to get back to normal a little bit. They had a new president come in. In their political system in Egypt is more of a Republican political system, but it's definitely different than the United States. What political and governmental issues are prevalent in the country you are entering? So in Egypt, the number one source of income is definitely tourism. So trying to boost your tourism is probably one of the most key things in improving the economy. This has to do with keeping it safe, maintaining your safe travel destinations a lot. These are the top three travel destinations. So Cairo, Luxor, and Aswan. So I put one of those in each in here. So this is Cairo, and then this is Luxor, and this is Aswan. So Cairo is basically known for more of the history and stuff like that. It's more of like the desert view. It's all history. They have the camels there, the pyramids, kind of stuff like that. Luxor is definitely known for the food. It's more of like getting the cultural taste on the food and all the shopping and kind of all that kind of stuff. And then Aswan is this is Aswan at the bottom. This is the Nile River that it goes through. And it's definitely more of, for like views and relaxation, but pretty much keeping these 3 places safe for tourists to travel to is a big move for Egypt. They have 12% of their workers go towards the tourism. So 12% of the overall population in Egypt works towards just boosting the economy within the tourism. So that's definitely probably their number one source of income. What small groups do you want to be expected to be involved with in this country? So the Egyptian Center for Women's Rights, it's pretty much called just ECWR, that's how they know it by, stands up for women in this country. They go on a lot of protests, as you see in these signs right here. They have a sign that says, "Don't blame me." They march the streets with this, and they're trying to make themselves more known, which is good. Instead of just having one person standing up and being shut down really fast and having a lot of silent followers, they're starting to kind of create that movement more. No socializing with men. I definitely don't want to be socializing with men when I go over to Egypt. I don't even want to risk any sort of sexual harassment, or especially not knowing their expectations as well in this country. I don't want to risk that. And then educational opportunities. So in the past, men have been definitely put above women with this. Education was pretty much meant for wealthy boys, and that's who they wanted to focus on their education. Until it came to the U.S. aid. So the U.S. gave money to Egypt to kind of lower that gender gap between education, so that there wasn't so much just like boy over girl, and kind of like bring that back to normal and neutralize it a little bit more. It actually helps them economically, because if you have both men and women that are educated, there's a lot more money opportunity to be made. And then these are all my references for that. So yeah. Overall, I'm really excited to go over and travel to Egypt. It is a pretty safe place. You just kind of have to know the safe places and those places that you probably shouldn't travel to, along with the body language and respect, and what they see as bad or not, or what they see as offensive or not. So yeah. So now that the presentation is over, I wanted to go back to the first slide. When we were assigned this assignment in the beginning, and it said come up with a creative title, I wasn't really sure what to do, because I was like, I don't really know what would be creative for Egypt. But after doing some research, I found a couple different scams that they like to do there, and this one was pretty funny. I was literally laughing with my whole family about it when I was telling them about it. So basically, a camel scam is when you're going to ride a camel, like say you're a tourist and you're going to ride a camel. If you get on the camel, they'll say it's like, oh, it's like a $5 ride. You're like, okay, cool. So you get on the camel, you ride it, whatever. They don't tell you the price that it takes to get off the camel until you're already on. So if you get caught in a camel scam, you're not going to be able to get off the camel unless you pay that price. So it's definitely important to negotiate the price of the full experience before you do you ride the camel, or before you kind of get into any of these experiences.